name is Zisl Slepovitch. I am a musician, musicologist, ethnomusicologist, Yiddish poet, composer, etc. Everything. Most of my creative and scholarly life has been centered around Yiddish culture. Just happens so. I'm come from Minsk, Belarus, and I've been here in the States for the past 9 years. So, to many, that sounds like a grüne Cousine, a greenhorn cousin, as it went in the Emil Gorovitz song. Here in the States, I'm actively collaborating with the National Yiddish Theater Volksbühne, working with Maestro Zalman Mlotek, and working with other institutions and writing my own music, teaching Yiddish at the New School, leading Yiddish clubs, raising 3 kids. I want to share with you part of my something that constituted an important part of my research, which is all about finding regional peculiarities and basically researching regionalism of Jewish culture in what we call Yiddish Elite, Jewish Lithuania. It's quite a vast territory that covers today's Belarus, Latvia, Lithuania, Eastern Poland, Western Russia, Northern Ukraine, what constituted the Grand Duchy of Lithuania in the 14th to 17th century, and which also was marked by a distinctive dialect of Yiddish. And now, just to give you a fast overview, a few years ago, my New York band, Litvakos, released its first full-length album called Raisen, the music of Jewish Belarus. I found, interestingly, that the culture in general, bichlal, right, and musical culture bifrat, in particular, of that region is largely overlooked, and it's not noticed. It's a kind of a, there's an expression, hidden Jews, right? Behaltene Yidden. Those who were given as children to the Gentile families during the Holocaust, so they survived physically, and a lot of them did, and a lot of their parents were killed, but those children survived, and they were brought up as Catholics, as pravoslavные and etc., Orthodox, but they survived, and many of them discovered that in their 50s, maybe 40s and 50s, and some of them didn't. So I refer to the Belarusian and Litvak Jewish, especially musical culture, as that hidden Jew kind of, and the Belarusian culture itself, because very unfortunately, so it just happened to be. That territory happened to be an important crossroads of European civilization for centuries, for a millennium, over a millennium. The paths of Vikings, of Rus armies, of Polish armies went through that territory, and so a lot of the inhabitants, a lot of people who lived there, preferred to stay on the safer side when asked about their identity of who they are, calling themselves the local ones. We're the local ones. That kind of described in a truthful way who they were. They really were the local ones, but they kind of they were wary of identifying themselves as a certain ethnos or a certain religious denomination. And the truth is that most of Belarusians, Belarusian is a colonial Russian name given by Catherine the Great. The actual ethnonym is Litvins, the Lithuanians. There comes the whole confusion, because today's Lithuanians have nothing to do with that ethnos. They're Baltic people who speak a different Baltic language, not a Slavic language. And the Litvins, the Belarusians, are a Slavic speaking nation of a Baltic Slavic kind of a conglomerate. And so they were totally confused themselves after a few centuries of hiding and surviving. So they lived in a galut of their own, on their own land for centuries. And that, very unfortunately, that situation continues until now, with the dictator Alexander Lukashenko, who's been in power for 23 years now, and who is very clearly a poorly controlled Kremlin marionette, but who generally hates everything national and everything Belarusian, and he kind of promotes very Soviet Russian kind of agenda in his own land, kind of not letting his own culture blossom. And quite naturally and obviously so, we find a lot of anti-Semitic sentiments in his random speeches and interviews. So that's not the point of my talk here, of course, but that kind of gives a little bit of a context. That this is, we're talking about a culture of a maybe millennium or 700-year-old culture of a few surviving nations, ethnic groups, who in this very unwelcoming conditions nevertheless formed a very unique culture. They produced it, and they nurtured it, and they lived it. And this culture, we can speak about Belarusian culture itself, Belarusian culture, or Belarusian Tatar culture, the Belarusian Muslims who have been there for 700 years and been writing their kitabs, their books in Belarusian language with Arabic alphabet. Or we're talking about the Belarusian Jews, the Litvaks, who have been there just as long, who migrated from Western Europe following the 1349-1351 plague being perpetrated in Europe, and who stopped eventually there and in Polish Kingdom, as many of us know. They kind of lived this place. It just found themselves living together, sharing this territory, living side by side, and obviously reflecting reflecting the images of each other in each other's narratives, verbal narratives, musical narratives, song narratives, and otherwise. I think it has become increasingly important to speak about such symbiosis in today's world after 200 years of Western nationalism rise, which, as we know, evolved in Western Europe about 200 years ago. But today, when some people actually actively promoting for raising walls and having others to pay for them, I think it is very, very important to point out that this idea of coexistence, like if you're in New York City, you can see these bumper stickers, coexist, written with all this yin yang, with the Mogen David, with the with the crescent, with the cross. So this idea is not new. It's not unique to New York. This idea was there without any kind of was not a political agenda. It was just happened. So people found ways to coexist, really, on very different levels, on economic levels, on linguistic levels, on any levels, even though they manifested very differing life views, philosophies, religions, etc. So when I ask, if I ask you, what is the iconic Eastern European Jewish dish? What's the Jewish food? And you can tell me gefilte fish, for example, right? But it's not Jewish food. Borscht, it's not Jewish food. It was all adapted. It was all just borrowed from the neighbors. It was made kosher, so acceptable for the Jews to eat. And that's it. That's about it. The only actual Jewish food is matzah. That's the authentic, genuine Jewish food. Nobody can argue about that. Same with the musical instruments. What's the Jewish musical instruments? The violin? Give me a break. The only Jewish musical instrument that has survived is shofar. And it's not even a musical instrument, it's a signal instrument. They use it to make music. They use it to make signals during unknown parts of the year. That's all. And everything else was adapted and culturally appropriated. Now, speak about cultural appropriation as a new new Western world cultural agenda, or political agenda, better to speak. So, to the point, there is a wealth of traditional culture, which many of us can refer to as folklore, including folk theater, including folk song, and including instrumental music, and other forms, architecture, that was common for everybody who shared the same territory, and that reflected on each other. So, I'm now working with my colleagues in my band Litvakus and my colleague in Berlin, Germany, Sasha Lurie, who's a wonderful singer and a Yiddish cultural activist, on this new program, which I came up with a Russian name, Drugoi, because Drugoi means the other, but Drug is friend and Goy is a Gentile. So it's the other who is a Gentile friend. And when Sasha came into my house for coffee when she came to Yiddish New York Festival this past December, and I shared that with her and I invited her to collaborate. And so, listen, I have this kind of problem of translating it into English because this is such a perfect play on words in Russian, kind of it embraces it all, the otherness and the goy and the friend. So wait a second, what's the problem? A goy friend. And as I told her, you're in the business. And so it came together. And we put our efforts together, not only Sasha and me, but also our friends and colleagues in Latvia, where she's originally from. Ilya Lenski of Riga is a wonderful scholar. And my professor Ina Nazina of Minsk, and Professor Andrzej Binkowski on Poland, who collected an enormous amount and published an enormous amount of traditional Polish music, hopping on the last car of the departing train, as many of us do, ethnographers. And he captured this traditional Polish culture, including Polish traditional musicians playing Jewish repertoire. And that's what Inna Nazina did, that's what Andrzej Binkowski did, and that's what some other people did. And that kind of gave it, and then there were some books also, like the academic editions of Белорусская народная творчесть, Belarusian folklore. One of the multiple volumes is called Folk Theater, and in all these folk plays, mainly staged at the time of Christmas and Easter, and the plot is usually a nativity. The Jews, along with the Gypsies, along with the Cossacks, are characters. So they're represented in a certain way, they act in a certain way, different ways actually. Sometimes they're those, the stereotyped greedy guys and mean guys who steal something from their good, gentle neighbors, but then I hold in my hand a copy from Oskar Kolberg's books. Oskar Kolberg was a 19th century Polish ethnographer who published over 80 volumes of Polish folklore from all regions of Poland. It's unimaginable what he did, including Lithuania and Belarus, but also all regions of Poland. And that was 19th century. And so this is from central Poland, Tymko Złodziej Diabli, Tymko the thief and the devils. And here in the summary, and the whole text is in Ruthenian language, which is the Carpathian kind of language close to Ukrainian. But the summary is in Polish here, and so the Jew bought some goods, some merchandise, and Tymko, that Ruthenian guy, stole that stuff from him. And so the Jew said he would forgive him if he performed some tricks. Anyway, so there's a wealth of this, or describing of weddings where you see the Poles or Belarusians or Lithuanians being costumed as Jews. Not only weddings, but also Easter plays. A colleague from Vilnius, Rimantas Liužinskas, has been researching exactly that, the representation, the Jewish image of the Jew in Lithuanian culture. And here are the unique pictures of the Jewish masks. You can see people go with a bayan, some kind of harmonium accordion here, with the Jew masks, and they celebrate the springtime They play Jews. They're also gypsies, and this is the boyfriend. So what exactly is the representation of the Jew in a Gentile folklore? The Jews are different, and everything different is scary or funny. For one, it's the same thing. There's two sides of the same: scary or funny. They don't eat pork. Really weird. They speak some really weird language. There was a Latvian composer and ethnographer who lived in early 20th century called Melngailis. He is known and credited for collecting a wealth of Latvian folklore, but he actually started just like Shimon Ansky, a Jewish ethnographer. He started with something else. Ansky started was a politician. He was a right-wing SR, social revolutionary. And he started with the Russian peasants in Donbass region, but then he switched to the Jewish folklore. Well, Melngailis started with the Jews. He incidentally heard a Jew singing a Jewish song in Yiddish, and he kind of understood Yiddish because everybody in Latvia at that time spoke German, at least educated people. German was a lingua franca in the then Latvia. And so he started writing down, and this first song, with number 1637, we start with the Abraham's polka, which is a staple part of Latvian folk repertoire, danced by a stadium full of couples, costumed couples in today's Latvia. Abraham's polka, as you may guess, there were not many Latvians named Abraham.
And it sounds Jewish.
Well, no, it's very Latvian, actually. Called like Polka Żydowka, a Jewish polka. Something that was not from the Jewish repertoire, but which represented how the Jews danced in the eyes of their neighbors. Forget the word anti-Semitism. It's not relevant. We're talking about very manifold, many multifaceted relationships that were unfolding over centuries. So when Andrzej Bieńkowski interviews the Polish musicians who used to play the dance called Żyd w beczce, the Jew in the barrel. And so he asks, okay, to the modern person, this name kind of sounds a little offensive, right? How did your Jewish fellows react to that? No, that was okay. It was jakoś przemrożeniem oka, with a wink of the eye. It was like, we're making fun of each other. We don't understand everything what we all do, but we are neighbors. Like, on Saturday, the Christians would milk our cows, and Sundays will milk their cows. It was like symbiosis, but it was not a Disneyland. It's not like Aaron Lebedev, Romania, when you see the rivers of milk and Brinza and Mamaliga and etc. Right, Pastramele, Karnacele, and it's like a Disneyland. No, it was not like that. It was very hard life. All these lay people lived side by side, struggling economically, politically, surviving under the aggressors coming from all sides, and not completely understanding each other's lives, but somehow making it work between themselves. So there are many sides to that, which might sound... So we have to throw this out of our window, all this modern concepts of, of political correctness, anti-Semitism, anything, you name it. It didn't exist in that form, but people made it work. People made it work for them socially. So nobody was living centuries oppressed or a lot of words, names, actual Jewish names, were used as wir Gramen, entschuldigt, ich tracht auf Jiddisch, Gramen, wie heißt Gramen? Rhymes. Rhymes. So for example, there are a lot of Polish, Belarusian, Ukrainian, that's what I know of, songs with the name Chaika. Chaya, right? A feminine Jewish name. Because Chaika rhymes well with Yaika, which means eggs. So I found in different sources, I found a wealth of verses. This is a folk quatrains with Chaika was selling Yaika, was selling eggs, for example. And some of them were pretty dirty also. and we definitely love to include that in our album. One of the Polish verse actually goes Żydóweczko frajdo. Frajdo, so that was the other one. Pojedziesz ty z nami. You'll go with us to a party, whatever that meant. And then it's tradiridirim, like a Nigan refrain. And then Żydóweczka Hajka sprzedawała jajka. They was selling jajka. To po grosz, to po dwa, bo хорошая была. That's in Belarusian. For a penny, for a two, because she was so good. She was so kind-hearted. So she was selling the eggs so cheap. Or Żydóweczka Hajka in Polish sprzedawała jajka, sprzedawała nici, gołą dupą świci. And that's the dirty one. So that's the Jewish girl Hajka was selling eggs. She was selling thread for them, all right? And she's exposing her buttocks. Nici, that's thread, and Shvichi is like flashing. She's flashing her buttocks. This is a Ukrainian Belarusian song, which is known in many different renditions. We had money in the larder. Byli u komory u nas groszy. If you Google that song, you can find some wonderful Ukrainian women sing it in a very beautiful traditional way at the table. Amazing. And some kind of more highly arranged stuff, sung at some, concert hall somewhere in Ukraine, I guess, with, bayans, with, balalaika, whatever they use, and they sing pretty nice too. And then my friend Alexander Ostrovukh published a Belarusian Yiddish dictionary some 10 years ago, which was a result of his 20-year research. He's a Belarusian artist who studied Yiddish first with Brezhnev's speeches published in Sovetish Heimland magazine. And then he really advanced in that, and there's a group of Belarusian artists who are really fond of Yiddish culture. They sing Yiddish songs and stuff like that, which is like, it's a little out of a place, a very isolated country like Belarus. Unfortunately, unlike Poland or even Russia, it's not really included in so much in the international cultural processes. So anyway, this is in his dictionary, which has a wonderful introduction with some folk materials. Byli u komory u nas groszy, a ja groszy damowszy. Ty piły, ja pila, ty nosiły, ja nosiła, ty ja groszy damowszy. So, which means we had money in the larder, and we brought this money to Moshe. And you were drinking, and I was drinking, and you were bringing, and you were carrying, I was carrying this money to Moshe. Было у комора у нас жито, а я тое жито до Жида. We had some rye in our larder, and we brought it to the Jew as well. It's like because we don't trust ourselves, we're drinking so hard, and we use this Jewish guy as a deposit box of sorts. He's really trusty. So this is a song like that. So there's also another group of songs, Jewish songs. Well, in the first place, there's an analogous group of songs where the Jews don't really understand or make fun of their Gentile neighbors. And one of them starts with a quotation of Psalm. But their idols are silver and gold, made by the hands of a human being. And our God is in the heaven. Atzabeyam kesov bezohev masei yedei yodom. Atzabeyam kesov bezohev masei yedei yodom. And then it goes, Peiloheim velo yidabeiru. Amoil hat sehr Gott und kennen kenner nicht reden. Oi wei a broch zu sei, a Gott a stummen haben sei, aber unser Gott bashamayim, yababai bashamayim. Which basically means they have mouths, but they cannot speak. Their God has a mouth, but cannot speak. Oy vey, may they have a tragedy. Our God, they have a mute God, but our God is in heaven. And then it goes the same with hands, with the same with the feet. And so at the same, it says, at the end it goes, but their God is basically a schlimazel. Because he cannot do anything with hands. So, braucht zu sei, sehr Gott ist a schlimazel, unser Gott is bashamayim, and our God is in heaven. So that was clearly, it was one of Hasidic songs. It was making fun of idolatry, of course, but also stressing of the importance of monotheistic faith and the way we live. So there was this kind of division. And then there were other realities that were connected, to the Jewish lifestyle and assimilation. So there are a lot of so-called shmat ballades, the converts ballads, because there are many converts. Sophia Magid and Moisei Beregovsky, the two wonderful Jewish musicologists in Kiev and in Leningrad, respectively, recorded quite a lot of them in the 20s and 30s in Belarus and Ukraine. And so, for example, this one, as the mother is sitting and mending a sock when they come to tell her that her Sonyale has converted. So she runs to search her among all the neighbors, and her daughter Sonyale is not found by anyone. So she runs to look for her at the door of a shepherd, a Romanian shepherd, Choban. So that kind of refers to that southern region. And her daughter Sonyale is standing across from her. Sonyale, Sonyale, it's a direct speech, come home to me, I'll give you whatever you want. I will give you clothes and then a Jewish boy for a husband. And my place you wore shoes and boots. If you marry the shepherd, you will die for a penny, you'll end up Jewish laundry. And with me you wore a white silk dress. If you marry the shepherd, you'll wash Jewish laundry. So she answered her mother, drive away, my mother. I can't stand her. The Jewish faith, I can't stand it. Sitz die Mame und arbeit azok. Kimmt mir nicht sagen, als ich Tochter Sonyale hat sie geschmort. Kimmt mir nicht sagen, als ich Tochter Sonyale hat sie geschmort. Läuft sie sichen zwischen alle Schreinem. In ihr Tochter Sonyale ist nicht bei keinem. In ihr Tochter Sonyale ist nicht bei keinem. Oi läuft sie sichen Zitschubanes Tier, in ihr Tochter Sonyale steht a gegen ihr, in ihr Tochter Sonyale steht a gegen ihr. Sonyale, Sonyale, kommt zu mir heim, ich will dir geben, was du willst allein. Ich will dir geben, was du willst allein. Ich will dir geben Kleider und dann in a jiddisch Jingele für ein Mann, in a jiddisch Jingele für ein Mann. Bei mir bist du gern mit Schich und Kaloschen, wirst Hasen erhoben für Choban, wirst du ausgehen für a Groschen, wirst Hasen erhoben für a Choban, wirst du ausgehen für a Groschen. Bei mir bist du gern mit a Wassadenkleid, wirst Hasen erhoben für Choban, wirst du waschen jiddisch Kleid, wirst Hasen erhoben für Choban, wirst du waschen jiddisch Kleid. Und sie gehen für der Mieter. Trappt da weg, mein Mieter, ich kann sie nicht laden, die jüdische Nemune, ich kann sie nicht verladen, die jüdische Nemune, ich kann sie nicht verladen. That's a typical convert ballad. Erev Yom Kippur. Erev, the evening of Yom Kippur, the father comes to pray in the synagogue, and his daughter is not there, and somebody tells him that she escaped with a goy, with a Gentile, and he goes there, and and she sends him away, and so father and mother die from sadness, from sorrow, and then this Gentile guy tells this Jewish girl to go away because he had fun with her, but he's not really interested in her, to having serious relationship with her. So she comes all, upset to her parents' house, and she sees that their parents are not there. She finds their grave, and she dies on that grave. That's a typical ballad. There were dozens of those ballads, shmat ballades, convert ballads, which also, of course, in a way reflect the relationship, and you can see that iconized in the Fiddler on the Roof, or maybe Shalom Aleicham's stories and of Tevia's stories and Fiddler on the Roof musical later on, with with the story of a convert and what it meant, what a tragedy it was for a Jewish family, basically to say Kaddish and, over an empty grave. And so then there was the other way around when a rabbi would, or at least so the songs would hold it, a rabbi would have an affair with a Gentile woman, and his Hasidim would point out to him, Rabbi, how come you're a holy man and you're bringing a shiksa, a Gentile woman, in your house? And he says, you're fools. You don't understand the thing, because while she's in my house, she's a Jewish shiksa. She's a special shiksa. She has a heksher, and she can afile paskin and shilas. She can even solve Talmudic questions, because she's a rabbin. In a shtetl nit weit von danem, oi, 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 oi. Is a Rebbe nu farchanen, oi, oi, oi. Leben lebt nit dis Shemes, oi, oi, oi. Nor von Chsidim die Behemes, oi, 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 oi. It's the high formula. Is amol a nes geschehen. There was a miracle that happened. Is amol a nes geschehen, oi, 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 oi. Mod dem Reben Sindiken gesehen, oi, 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 oi. Mit a Schickse zwischen die Beimer, oi, oi, oi. On a shames, on a shamer, oi, 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 oi. Fragen Chsidim die Naronim, oi, 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 oi. Zog je Rebenu, was hat es upon him, oi, 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 oi. What does it mean? In Rebens Stube as a machsheve, oi, oi, oi. Dem Rebens Stubes geworden Treife, oi, 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 oi. So the rabbi's house became treif, non-kosher. And for the Rebbe mit a kosher ponim, the rabbi answers with a kosher face, mit a kosher ponim, oi, 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 oi. Oi, chsidim dinaronim, oi, 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 oi. Rebens Schickse hat alle Meiles, Rebens Schickse hat all virtues. Oi, 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 sie kennen viele Pasken and Shilas. Oi, 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 oi. So that's the song. It's a comical song. It's, obviously no one excuses the rabbi, but the life. The point of this song is that life is never black and white. It has many more colors there. And then there was also this thing that not exactly involves the Goyish neighbors, but it rather reflects on assimilation. So this is a wonderful song that Sasha Luria recorded from actually my neighbor next door, wonderful Yiddish singer and songwriter and a filmmaker, Josh Valetsky. And so he remembered that song from his childhood. I think he grew up in the Bronx, among the Riversdale. I mean, the Ben Brodjivke. So by the Żydówkes, Żydówka in Polish, it's not a Jewish girl. It's a Jewess. It's a rather derogatory name, because you don't. Well, a Żyd, that's a Jew, but Żydówka, you don't say in Polish ta Żydówka. In a very simple and a very low-level language, you would say that. But in a respectful way, you would say kobieta żydowska, a Jewish woman, a Yiddish Frau, right? Nicht a Zev Yiddish, just as in Yiddish. You don't say, a Yidene. По-русски это Yidene, это русская баба еврейской национальности. Or a Yiddishke. So a Yiddish Frau, it's a more respectful way to put it. Same with the Polish, Żydówke. So, but the Żydówkes is the groisach shones, mered das Polish on Rachmanis. There's a novelty by the Jewish, the Jewesses, they speak Polish without mercy. Mezol ze nicht erkennen, the Żydówkes was they, so that nobody recognized them, would not recognize that they are Jewesses, that they are. Polish is bazei sprach, Yiddish is a miese Sach, and Polish is by them a language, and Yiddish is a feh, is a terrible thing. And then they recall and a kapore. You know, a kapore was a kapore. It's sacrifice in Yom Kippur when they do it with a chicken. A kapore means worthless. Ash und Peretz. Sholem Ash, the modernist Yiddish writer, whom you probably can see a play about his play, The Indecent, on Broadway these days. I highly encourage you to see. My friend Lisa Gutkin wrote music for that, and it was just recently in Yiddish, actually, put out off Broadway. So, and Peretz, Yud Lamed Peretz, is a classic of Yiddish literature. A kapore ashen Peretz, far Przybyszewski haben sie groich derech Eretz. So, for a Polish writer who's popular at the time, they have a great respect. And the same thing. And aber was tut men, what can you do? Was tut men mit a Yiddischen nose? What do you do with a Jewish nose? You can't hide it. So ot ken men zij derkennen. That's how you can recognize them. Die Żydówkes was they zennen. The Jewesses that they are. Anyways, let me say, that's a fun song. I love singing it. But the Żydówkes is euch groß ach schones. Mere doch Polish on Rachmones. Me soll sie nicht derkennen. Die Żydówkes was sie zennen. Polish is bazei a Sprach. Yiddish is a miese Sach. A kapore ash un Peretz. Far Przybyszewski haben sie groß derech Eretz. Me soll sie nicht erkennen, die Żydówkes was sie sehnen. Polish is a scheine Sach. Yiddish is a miese Sprach. Aber was tut men was? Was tut men mit a Yiddischen Nos? Ot ken men zij derkennen, die Żydówkes was zij zennen. Polish is a miese Sprach, Yiddish is a scheine Sach. So that's a song that probably was created around, 1920s, I believe, maybe early 30s. This interwar period, which kind of is a thing in itself, and it was now well studied, including by yours truly. Let me share also that years before, in Belarus, I, together with my research partner and professor, the late Nina Stepanskaya, Olav Sholem, we conducted this research. We went out to the field. We met hundreds of people. We recorded their stories, their songs. Some people could even play some tunes on the rusty, baritone horns or accordions they hadn't played for 30-something years, and share their stories. And so already being here in the States, actually being on tour in Holland, coming from here, on my lap, actually, I composed the show, and then we worked on that with Zalman Lotek and Brian Wasserman at the National Yiddish Theater of Volksbühne. And I invited my mentor and friend Michael Alpert, Meshke Alpert, to be part of it, to represent. If you don't know, Michael Alpert is an iconic figure of Yiddish Renaissance, of Yiddish dance, linguistics, music, etc. A really important figure for anybody involved in Yiddish culture. And together with my band Litvakus, we kind of served as a bridge with these videos, with the people singing and telling the stories, and we're playing live music with them. So this show is something we play. Actually, if you want to book it and bring it to your place, you're welcome to do it. It won't cost you $1 million, and it's really engaging. And you don't have to be Jewish to be related to it. So let me just show you one song that we recorded in Pinsk, in the south of Belarus, from two sisters. Both of them are not alive anymore. Zinaida Lyovina and Dasya Khrapunskaya. They would sing for 3 hours of their father's yellow page notebook from the 30s, and they learned a wealth of Yiddish songs from their father. And they would celebrate Passover, Seder, and even secretly go to shul with him. In the Soviet times, they were born in Gomel Oblast in the southeast of now Belarus. So it was Davke Soviet Union. And so this is the song. I just want to show you the video. It does not have to do anything with the Goy friend, with the Goyish neighbors. It's just the work that I did and which kind of led and preceded this project. No, most of the time they wanted to do it themselves. It was both ways, actually. At some point, I learned Yiddish not really as a foreign language, but sort of. I didn't speak Yiddish as much as a little, but when I started doing my ethnographic work, I I felt that the Yiddish would tremendously help me to open up kind of a very different source of information with these people, because they also would not have spoken Yiddish for decades, imagine 60 years. So I learned Yiddish as a foreign language from scratch. So I would just address to them, I would just speak to them in Yiddish, and they would be so excited. As a junger Mann kommt rein, redet Yiddish, das ist nicht möglich. As such a young man, and I was, imagine that, like 15 years younger than now I am, come in and speak Yiddish to them. They were overwhelmed. That's not possible. They thought Yiddish died and everything died and everybody died, right? And so that would kind of click something. They would start remembering something from their childhood, all sorts of things. So, and there would be some of them, like Nina wasn't as fluent in Yiddish, although she tried her best. But when she asked them something in Russian, they protested, no, we want to speak only in Yiddish. So, all right, you speak to them. You know, so they were so excited. Yeah, it was a melting pot, except there was no real assimilation to an extent. So everybody maintained their culture, but they, you know, and then there were episodes like conversion and like things, intermarriage. The point is, it was never black and white. It was never as any ideology wants to represent in a very simplified and vulgarized means. It would never was like that. Right. And victimized. No? Wow. It was always a subject-object, reverse. Right. Well, there's a wealth of anti-Semitic sayings in Russian. Еврей крещеный, вор прощенный. A baptized Jew is like a forgiven thief, because there was many converts among Jews at the time. Of course, there was a pure anti-Semitism, and by anti-Semitism I don't mean lack of political correctness. Let's not confuse these two things, because there was no such thing as political correctness. It was not on the map anywhere in human history until like now. But it was, by anti-Semitism, I mean pure hatred towards Jews, period. Hatred towards Jews. Nothing else I call anti-Semitism in these terms. So yeah, there was hatred towards Jews, among other things, because like matzah is the only authentic Jewish food, like shofar is the only authentic Jewish instrument in existence. The Jewish culture it's purely Jewish is only liturgy, is only the text of Torah and Talmud and Kabbalah. This is where even in Kabbalah in Zohar we can find traces of folklore of surrounding peoples, and there's a wealth of folk Judaism, like folk Christianity. That means a mix of actual religion and superstitions and some folk beliefs. If you have to spit 3 times over your left shoulder to get rid of trouble, and that's what a lot of Jews, including my mom, actually believed in. And then there was also lack of knowledge. As Jews were assimilating, there was lack of knowledge, kind of a loss of knowledge of their tradition. What Tzvi Gittelman, whom I didn't have a chance to see at this conference, but he was here, called, in one of his writings, he called it thin Judaism, when all that people remember is just some forms, but they don't remember the essence, the reason why you have to cover bread with a napkin. But they still do it because my grandmother did it, my mother said. And then I explained to my mother why her grandmother did that. So that's kind of few lost generations, kind of, but their children are helping them to relearn Yiddish, to relearn Jewish tradition and Judaism. Hashem, thank you very much.
We would be pleased to send a complimentary DVD of this program to anyone who wishes to support JBS, the Jewish Broadcasting Service, with a tax-deductible gift of $36, double chai or more, to the nonprofit organization Jewish Education in Media. Simply visit the JBS homepage and click on the Donate button to make a donation by PayPal or your credit card. And please indicate the program for which you would like a DVD. Or you can send your tax-deductible check made out to JEM, to Jim, Post Office Box 180, Riverdale Station, Bronx, New York 10471. And again, please remember to indicate which program you would like to receive with our compliments. And we thank you for your kind support.